Hello everyone. In today's video, we're gonna talk about the rise in inflation, high prices of commodities, and what Michael Burry has to say about it. The rise in inflation in USA is no secret. The FED aims for the annual inflation rate to be 2 per year, so we've had about 8 months worth of inflation in just 30 days. If you dig into the numbers, a significant portion of that inflation is due to the energy crisis we're currently experiencing because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the world's subsequent management of that crisis. Last week we received an update that the annual inflation rate in the US has now reached 9.1 with a month-over-month rise of 1.3%. Energy commodities are up 10.4%. Gasoline is up 11.2%. Utility gas or pipe gas is up 8%. So there have been significant increases. Unsurprisingly, this acceleration in inflation has led to significant interest rate hikes. Economists anticipate at least another 0.75% increase in the federal funds rate, possibly with some additional increases. The unpleasant reality of the situation is that these interest rates are on the rise. As long as the inflation rate is above the Federal Reserve's target rate of 2% yearly, there will continue to be such increases. But in reality, these rate hikes simply reflect the fact that the economy is becoming more and more difficult for both citizens and businesses. As a result, consumers have less disposable income as debt payments rise and essentials become more and more expensive. For businesses, this equates to lower profits at a time when their debt repayments and other costs are also rising. For these reasons, many experts believe that such a severe recession in America is just around the corner. Michael Burry, the man, the myth, and the legend, is the one who predicted all of this at the beginning of last year. But he has just lately come forth to say his opinion. Michael Burry, who had foreseen the complete collapse years prior and would make millions once things started to fall apart, Burry is a person who is, to put it mildly, controversial and disliked by a lot of people, including Elon Musk. Burry is known for tweeting out outlandish financial predictions that he then promptly deletes, but recently, he's been proven correct when he predicts both the extreme inflation we're currently experiencing and a catastrophic financial collapse that might happen in the next few months. Michael James Burry, an American investor, physician, and manager of a hedge fund, was born on June 19, 1971. He started the hedge fund Scion Capital, which he led until 2008, when he decided to close it so he could concentrate on his own interests. His greatest claim to fame is that he was one of the first investors to foresee and profit from the subprime mortgage crisis that took place between 2007 and 2010. The key question is, however, whether he is a financial success or nothing more than a lunatic. So this video will be split into 2 parts. Fasten your seatbelt because there's a lot to cover first. We're going to start with the 2008 collapse and Burry's history. Just a quick note. This is going to be like the 5 years old explanation because we are talking about recent history in the 2008 financial collapse. The second part is talking about the Michael Burry predictions for the financial future that might soon come to pass for all of us in the second half of this year. Sadly, when interest rates were low, Americans did what most people do when offered a loan. They took as much of the loan as possible to buy a house. As more people entered the housing market, demand increased. And this demand caused house prices across the US to rise. However, after a while, the recession ended, which meant the government started to increase interest rates again. The moment interest rates increased, people's monthly mortgage payments increased, and soon, many Americans were unable to pay back their loans. Thousands of people started defaulting on their mortgages, which meant creditors started seizing homes they intended to sell to a new buyer. However, because there were so many people defaulting on loans, there was a vast amount of houses on the market, which decreased demand and caused prices to drop. Here is the truly awful part: what the banks did to continue profiting until the very end. The majority of banks sold mortgage bonds, which were a way for people to invest in the housing market. They bet that Americans could continue to pay their mortgages and that over time the housing market would grow. As long as the market grew, the bond price would increase. But as we already know, the market wasn't growing anymore, and hundreds of thousands of people lost their homes. In many ways, the success of the entire market depended on them. So the banks used credit rating agencies to maintain the high ratings of mortgage bonds, artificially inflate their value, and mislead the public about what was really happening. They sold billions more in mortgage bonds up until the very moment the entire house of cards collapsed, at which point the bubble burst, causing the economic disaster that spread across the globe. Basically, banks failed and people lost trillions of dollars. The entire country went bankrupt. But let's talk about the main character of the entire story and the subject of this video, Dr. Michael Burry. He predicted the 2008 housing collapse years before it occurred. He staked hundreds of millions of dollars against their housing bonds, which is known as a cut when the bond declines. Michael Burry has been making a lot of huge predictions about our financial future and the fact that we're on the verge of a giant financial collapse. And he's not saying that this is in 2 years' time or 1 year's time. He's saying that this will happen within the next few months. However, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So Michael Burry's 2008 predictions could have completely been a fluke, but we all saw it happen. After the global health crisis in 2020, governments all over the world began printing an absurd amount of money in an effort to stimulate the economy and prevent an economic crash in February 2021. Burry started predicting that all of this would soon lead to massive inflation. But at the time, most thought he was a crackpot, because even though money was still being printed, inflation numbers stayed low. However, Burry was right about the situation we find ourselves in now. A few months later, everything started to spiral out of control. Currently, inflation in the US is hovering around 9%, which is the highest level in 40 years, and in the Eurozone, it is 8.6, which is the highest level ever. However, there's more fire. Last year, shorting Tesla's stock price predicted its eventual peak. This makes the next part of the story possibly a little bit worrying for all of us globally, as things are already economically stressful enough. However, according to Burry, the worst is still to come, as the economy is currently like watching a plane crash, and his predictions are that markets will collapse. He also mentioned shorting Bitcoin just before its all-time high in 2021, right before its price would fall, wiping 50 off the cryptocurrency's value. The main focus is on the fact that Burry has a history of making incorrect predictions as opposed to accurate ones. Even though Burry has previously won bets on shorting Tesla stock, he's also lost some as well. Every time Burry loses a bet, the media is quick to point it out, seeming to focus much more energy on his losses rather than his wins. Burry doesn't have a flawless track record. There are many occasions where he's been wrong about certain stocks or bets he's made on parts of the market. The point is, just because someone was right once doesn't imply they'll be right again. And just because someone has been incorrect in the past doesn't guarantee he is wrong again. It comes down to paying attention to the indications that are happening around us. However, avoid giving in to fear. Yes, the economy is in poor shape, but that doesn't mean you have no options. If you're concerned about the future, this is the perfect time to organize your finances. If you haven't created a budget, start there. If you have credit cards, cancel them, or see if you can reduce your monthly debt repayments. Eliminate any wasteful spending from your life, and consider starting to increase your emergency fund. Try to renegotiate your home loan for a better rate, and pay down as many high-interest debts as you can, because you never know what the future may bring. Maybe I'll make a video about it in a few months. So guys, this is it for today. Hopefully you liked the video. Comment down below and let us know. And subscribe to our channel in order to stay updated on global finances.